So I find sometimes if you have to or you want to understand a very difficult concept or a very difficult subject, for example, it's a lot easier to break it down into smaller parts. And it definitely works like that when it comes to visual art, and it definitely works like that when it comes to photography. When you're out there and you want to take a quick photo and you have to remember all these rules and all the settings on your camera, and you have to take out maybe a book or something just to check all these notes and ideas and things, then the moment might be lost. It's very important, I believe, just to have the basics there and to know it and to make sure that you practice, and it becomes second nature. So today we are going to look at something that we call composition. For you guys that's new to the channel, we have started a basic photography course on this channel. You can check out the link below for some of the other videos. And we are trying to break all of this down into the basic fundamentals and ideas of photography so that you can take better pictures. It does not really matter what you're taking the pictures with. So you can use these rules and these foundational principles to make sure that you take better photos, whether you're using a cell phone or you might be using some really expensive digital camera. Guys, welcome to Photo Fridays. So here are the 4 basic composition rules, and this is my rules, so I'm going to add a little disclaimer here. This is not necessarily the rules that you will find on the internet or in textbooks, but this is what works for me, just to break composition down into these 4 basic principles. So number 1 is focal point. So focal point is basically the main thing in your photo. That is the main thing you want your viewer to see when you take the photo, and you are going to try to guide the viewer's eyes to exactly that point or that object. That is what we call focal point. So when we look at composition is basically you distributing and placing the elements in your frame or in your photo so it's pleasing and easy to understand. You're trying to arrange these images or objects in a specific frame. So some of you guys might be using a landscape format, and some of you guys might be using a portrait format. Some of you might be taking photos with a medium format camera that's kind of like the same aspect ratio as on Instagram in a little square format. So by arranging these elements, you can make your photo better, but also make it more pleasing for your viewer. And focal point is really important because obviously when you take a picture of something, you want the viewer to have all the focus from the eye go to that specific object, shape, or might be a person. Also, it's very important when you take photos or when you are a photographer to make sure that you know what you are passionate about. You can immediately see if somebody is passionate about a certain subject by just looking at their pictures. So when I get the question, what kind of pictures should I take or what photography is good for me, it's always a good question to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What do you really like? Because your passion will definitely show in those pictures. The next one we're going to talk about is something we call symmetry. So symmetry is when things in your photo are balanced on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, are balanced on the top and at the bottom. So another word for symmetry, you could just call it balance. It's basically when you take and you draw a vertical line through the top of your image vertically, and you draw a horizontal line, also dividing your image into halves and making sure that you have the same balance or the same amount on all of these sides. So this is what we call symmetry. And then the one you guys have probably heard about a lot, the rule of thirds. Now the rule of thirds is a very basic concept actually. It's when you take your picture and you draw 2 lines again horizontally and 2 lines vertically, and you make sure that you divide this image into 3 parts on the top and 3 parts on the side. So where these lines intersect or cross, this is where you want your focal point or some of the objects or elements in your photos to be. This is what we call the rule of thirds by the way we divide our frame. Okay, so we've covered focal point, we've covered symmetry, and then also the rule of thirds. And then the last one, and this is my favorite one when it comes to composition, is something we call, or I call at least, layering. So layering is when you're trying to separate the foreground and the middle ground and the background. When you're trying to make sure that your focal point stands out, because your foreground might be blurry and your background might be blurry. In photography, we call this bokeh, when you have that nice, creamy, blurry kind of backgrounds, but you can also apply the same for the foreground. So by doing this, you are creating your photo not to be flat, but to look like it consists or it's made up of certain layers. And this is what we call layering. So by using these 4 rules, again, focal point, symmetry, the rule of thirds, and layering, you can start to create stronger and more compelling photos. And these ideas will help you to organize your scene and draw attention to the right areas in your photo. So just like filmmakers and photographers, you can use these techniques to make your visuals more powerful and pleasing to the eye. So I hope that helped you to break down composition, that can be such a complicated term sometimes, into small basic ideas and rules. And it's just so much easier, like I said in the beginning, if you have so many things to concentrate on, it's so much easier to break it down into little parts. Okay, so guys, we will definitely be looking at some more basic photography skills on this channel. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. We are trying to pull together a community of people that is interested in photography and in visual arts. And it doesn't matter your age or your qualification or your experience. We're trying to get people that's passionate about the same thing together and maybe share some ideas. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we will definitely be back with some more videos when it comes to photography soon. And please also remember, at the bottom there's a little link that you can download some cue cards. If all of this is way too much for you, or it's very difficult for you to listen, you prefer reading, please do so. Download the cue cards, and it'll help you with concepts that we covered in this video and in previous videos, but also concepts that we're still going to talk about in videos to come. See you guys soon.